Title: The Kind King Part 1. The Kind King. In a faraway land, there was a peaceful kingdom called Sarandale. This kingdom was known for its green hills, flowing rivers, and kind-hearted people. The ruler of Sarandale was King Eric, a wise and gentle man who always put his people first. King Eric was not like other kings. He did not care for gold or jewels. Instead, he cared for his people's happiness. Every day, he would walk through the streets of his kingdom, talking to the farmers, traders, and children. He always asked if they needed anything, and made sure everyone was safe and well-fed. One day, while King Eric was speaking to his people, a messenger from a neighboring kingdom came rushing in. The messenger looked tired and worried. He knelt before King Eric and said, "Your Majesty, our land is in great danger. A mysterious enemy has attacked our villages, and we do not know why. Our king asks for your help." King Eric listened carefully. He looked at the messenger's tired face and knew that this was not just their problem. It was also his. "Tell your king that I will come to help," said King Eric. "We will stand together against this threat." The people of Sarandale were surprised. They were happy that their king was willing to help, but they were also worried about his safety. They knew that King Eric was brave, but this enemy seemed strong and dangerous. King Eric called his most loyal knights to the castle. "We will ride to our neighbor's kingdom and help them," he said. "We must do what is right, no matter how difficult it is." The knights nodded. They trusted their king, for he had always led them with kindness and wisdom. They knew that this journey would not be easy, but they were ready to follow their king wherever he went. And so, King Eric and his knights set out on their journey. They rode through forests and crossed rivers, facing many challenges along the way. But no matter how tired or hungry they became, King Eric always found a way to lift their spirits. He would tell them stories or sing songs, reminding them why they were on this journey. Part 2. The journey continues. As King Eric and his knights rode through the forest, they came across a small village. The villagers looked sad and hungry. Their fields were dry and their wells had run out of water. King Eric stopped his horse and spoke to the villagers. "What has happened here?" King Eric asked gently. "Our crops have failed, and we have no water," an old woman said. "We do not have enough food for our children, and we fear we might not survive the coming winter." King Eric's heart ached when he heard this. He knew that he could not ignore their suffering, even though he was on an important mission. He turned to his knights and said, "We must help these people before we continue our journey. They need us." The knights agreed, and they got to work right away. Some of them dug a new well, while others helped the villagers plant new seeds in their fields. King Eric himself stayed with the children, playing games with them and making them laugh. He gave the villagers food from their supplies, even though it meant they would have less for their journey. "Thank you, King Eric," the villagers said with tears in their eyes. You have saved us. We will never forget your kindness." King Eric smiled and said, "Always help those in need. Kindness is what makes us strong." And with that, he and his knights continued their journey to the neighboring kingdom. Part 3. The Mysterious Enemy. As they got closer to the kingdom, King Eric and his knights noticed that the villages they passed were empty and quiet. Houses were burned, and there was no sign of life. It was clear that the enemy they were about to face was cruel and powerful. Finally, they reached the castle of the neighboring kingdom, where they were greeted by the worried King Roderick. King Roderick looked tired and hopeless. "Thank you for coming, King Eric," he said. "Our enemy is like a shadow, striking when we least expect it. We do not know who they are or why they attack us." King Eric placed a hand on King Roderick's shoulder and said, "Do not lose hope. We will find this enemy and put an end to their cruelty. We must stand strong together." The next day, King Eric and his knights went out to find the enemy. They followed the tracks left behind by the attackers and soon came upon a camp hidden deep in the forest. To their surprise, the enemy was not an army of warriors but a group of poor people who were hungry and desperate. Part 4. The Enemy Revealed. King Eric stepped forward and spoke to the leader of the group, a young man named Elric. "Why do you attack this kingdom?" King Eric asked. "What do you hope to gain by causing so much pain?" Elric looked down, ashamed. "We did not want to hurt anyone," he said. "We were driven out of our own land by a cruel ruler. We have no home, no food, and no hope. We thought that if we took what we needed, we could survive." King Eric listened carefully. He could see the sadness and fear in their eyes. He knew that these people were not evil. They were just desperate. "There is a better way," King Eric said softly. "We can help each other. If you are willing to put down your weapons and work with us, we will make sure you have food and a place to call home." Elric and his people were surprised by King Eric's words. They had expected anger and punishment, but instead, they found kindness and understanding. Slowly, they laid down their weapons and agreed to work with the two kingdoms. Part 5. The Battle of Courage. Just when it seemed like peace was within reach, a group of soldiers from the cruel ruler who had driven Elric's people away arrived. They were ready to fight and take Elric's people back as slaves. King Eric stood in front of Elric and his people, holding up his hand. "We will not let you harm them," he said firmly. "They are under our protection now. If you want to fight, you will have to go through me and my knights." The enemy soldiers were taken aback by King Eric's bravery. They did not expect a king to defend people who were not his own. A fierce battle broke out, and King Eric and his knights fought with all their might. They were outnumbered, but they fought with courage and strength, knowing they were fighting for what was right. In the heat of the battle, King Eric's wisdom shone through. He used clever strategies to outsmart the enemy. and his knights followed his lead with great skill. Together, they drove the enemy soldiers away, forcing them to retreat. Part 6. The Resolution. After the battle, King Eric turned to Elric and his people. "You are free now," he said. "You are welcome to live in our kingdoms. We will build a new home for you, where you can live in peace and without fear." Tears of gratitude filled Elric's eyes. "Thank you, King Eric," he said. "You have given us more than we ever dreamed of. We will work hard to repay your kindness." King Roderick, who had watched everything with awe, said, "King Eric, you have shown me the true meaning of leadership. It is not just about power or wealth. It is about kindness and doing what is right. Because of you, our kingdoms will grow stronger together." Part 7. The Legend of King Eric. Word of King Eric's bravery and kindness spread far and wide. People from all over the land came to see the king who had turned enemies into friends and built a home for those in need. They called him the Kind King because he always chose love and wisdom over anger and war. King Eric continued to rule Sarendale with a gentle heart. He made sure that his people and the people of the neighboring kingdom lived in peace and harmony. He taught them that kindness and courage are the true strengths of a kingdom. Years passed, and King Eric grew older, but his spirit remained as strong as ever. He knew that his kingdom was in good hands because he had taught his people to be kind and brave, just like him. And so the legend of King Eric lived on, passed down from generation to generation. His story became a reminder that true kings are not just rulers of their land, but also rulers of their hearts. Thanks.